Um, I guess it's good evening at your side. Um,
Hi, good
thank
evening to you
you.
too.
Yes, thank you for agreeing to host have this session with us. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm Moon, founder of DigitSense and Twixel. Actually, DigitSense was my first baby, and I founded it around 4.5 years ago as a software product studio. We build mainly different types of software products and AI products as well. So Twixel is actually a venture of ours as well, and we are basically a Shopify wishlist app that targets maximizing conversion for Shopify sellers and also different sorts of direct to consumer e-commerce merchants.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know. How long has DigiSense been in existence, and what inspired you to host this webinar as well?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, DigiSense has been in operation for quite a few years already. And I mean, Twixel is one of our products, like I said.
Mhm.
I think the whole point of hosting this webinar is because obviously we know the season is coming up, we know that Christmas is coming up, and everybody is trying to run a very successful campaign. So this is what we're hoping to target, especially for brands to really rely on their branding instead of just playing numbers game with their ads.
Okay, I think ideally, one thing that I think most people well, who would you say the main target audience of Twixel? Huh?
Yeah, actually, Tuxo is mainly, I would say, targeting any direct-to-consumer merchants that are aesthetics focused. So, in theory, more than 40% of people who use Wishlist app are actually apparel and fashion sellers. And the second one would be mainly, I would say, beauty, skincare related. So, I think those are the biggest two industries that can make use of that. But also I would say anything from jewelry to electronics as well, home furnitures. Those are some of the big players of this market too.
Okay. Um, aside, well, I think we'll be talking mainly about the holiday campaigns. But aside that, do you think the strategies or the sessions, the strategies or the lessons that you talk about can be used maybe after the holiday campaigns or can be used year round?
Yeah, absolutely. In theory, holiday campaigns is only where you are catching a hype. But in theory, everything can be reused. I mean, branding never really changes, right? It's just during the holiday, it's your chance to sell. And playing the numbers game probably is going to get you somewhere, but it doesn't make you outcompete in the very long term.
Um, can you explain what you mean by the numbers game?
Yeah, so in theory, I mean, if you can imagine, everybody does the Black Friday sale. You're gonna be outcompeted if you don't do a Black Friday or anything like Cyber Monday, Christmas sales, Easter sales, and all those sort of things. So in theory, a lot of merchants are obviously lowering their price, pushing down their margin to the bare minimum, trying to get people to buy. But in theory, that's not how you earn your profit, right? I mean, you need to earn your profit in the long term as well. So even if you're getting in the revenue during those days, great revenue, but perhaps profit is like way lower than what you would expect it. But in theory, that's also a good chance for you to build your brand reputation. Because in theory, when people know about your brand during the holiday season, or they get to know it because you were doing a sale, you still need to play the long-term game of locking them in as a loyal customer.
Right. And then from what you said, that's where Twixel comes in, right? Um,
Exactly.
okay. So I think my next question would be you've analyzed some campaigns. What are some of the
Yeah.
common traits that some of these campaigns share?
Sure, absolutely. So I would say I can share a few quick case studies for you, but I actually summarized it in a few terms. So it's actually 4 points: data, loyalty, personalization, and sorry, one thing left, social. So a lot of people actually miss those out, and they're just trying to sell at a margin that is way lower, trying to convert. But in theory, most of these very successful campaigns, they really put a lot of investment in their own brands. They're playing more of the brand game and catching people's behavioral psychology per se, instead of just saying, oh, look, here's a deal. This is a 20% off site wide, and then trying to make people to buy. Because in theory, if people are not loyal to your brand, or they don't understand, they don't buy into your brand theory, they might as well just go on a marketplace or just buy it from Walmart or Amazon or eBay, because those don't really have a brand. So that their brand establishment is not as high. And there's a reason why people buy directly from the brand. So I can actually share a few case study right now, if that's okay.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, cool. So this is the very first one, Amazon. I know it's not very applicable because the tech giant, a huge marketplace, but what they did was actually genius, especially with how they do deals. Because imagine, right? Usually during the holiday season, everyone goes and say, "Look, I'll start from today. We'll launch the Black Friday today." Then the deal actually lasts for 2 weeks and it never stops. So in theory, I don't really feel like I'm urged to buy it. So if I miss Black Friday, so what? Usually Cyber Monday has a better deal. So
Mhm.
this is something that a lot of people missed out on because they just keep doing deals. But the thing is, people are not urged to buy. So what Amazon did was they did 12 consecutive days of deals, but each and every single day has a different category that is going on sale, or it will be a different brand that is going on sale. So, for example, today it will be baby products. Tomorrow it will be furnitures. The day after will be jewelry, things like that. So, in theory, every single day has a different, I would say, consolidation of these audience that they want to target. So, in theory, it creates the urgency way more because it's a time limited offer. And people are just, like I said, it's behavioral psychology. It's fear of missing out. So they will want to catch it as soon as possible.
How do you think they decide which category of products to sell or which?
Honestly speaking, I think they do it based on their own algorithm.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure Amazon has their own insights on what type of data that they have collected. So let's say if it's a Monday, who's more likely to be shopping? If it's Saturday or Sunday, who is more likely to be shopping, and so on. So I think these are the things. So I'll give you an example, right? Maybe moms, they probably will shop during the day when their kids are at school. And that means they would have a little bit more time to perhaps shop on a Monday or so. But let's say if they are, maybe they're a mom as well, but with younger babies. So they are always with the baby during the week when their husbands are working, for example, and their husbands probably will be home to take care of the baby during the weekend as well. So they get a bit of time to actually do some chores and buy something. So their products should be on sale on Saturday and Sunday. So these are just like very simple utilization of data. Or I mean, it's common sense, but like,
Okay. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Is there anything else about any other case study that we can go ahead to?
yeah, absolutely. So there are a few others. So Topical is a very funny skincare brand. So there are tons and tons of skincare brands out there. And with all honesty, a lot of them are starting to position them as like organic, vegan, fair trade. I mean, these are all uh, iconic uh, sales factors of a skincare and cosmetics brand. But most importantly, what they did was a lot of people did miss this out is they sell their usual products as an exclusive discount during Christmas or during the holiday seasons. But in theory, holiday exclusive products are way better in sales because, in theory, first of all, is they do create a bigger sense of urgency because it's special, right? It's limited edition. So limited edition obviously comes in with a bigger hype, but also it's high risk, high return. I think it's not for every single business because some business are bigger, they can afford this. Let's say, I mean, worst comes to worst, right? Nobody buys it. It all goes into the back of the inventory. Then what? I mean, who are you going to sell it to? Are you going to sell it to like wholesale or distributors at a very, very low cost, low price, and basically just get your cost back or so? So I think these are the questions. but also what they did well was with their hyper personalized sales. So what they did with hyper personalization is very, very much a genius, because if you think about how people spend nowadays, and I'm talking about Gen Z or beyond. So Gen Z or beyond, their way of purchasing or their psychology of purchasing changed. People are buying more and more into the vision of the brand and what they like about the brand. I mean, some of them grow up pretty well off as well. So in theory, they're not really short of money. And if you're targeting millennial or above, they are probably earning good money. So they're not really just buying based on like a cheap price. So it depends how your brand is being positioned and whether or not you're selling necessities or luxuries or products that are just, I would say, very much competitive, but has an edge to it. So what you can do with hyper personalization is, if you can imagine, like I said earlier, 20% off side-wide is never going to get you a lot of revenue. Maybe it will during the holiday season, but in theory, you need to think about your profit as well. So I'll give you an example. If you think about a consumer coming onto your site, they have their own favorite products to begin with. And when you give them a 20% off versus when you give them a 40% off on that specific product that they want, or like even an 80% off, you sell it at a loss, right? Most likely they're going to bundle it with other products for free shipping, even if it's at a normal price, a non-discounted price. So that actually happens very often as well. I mean, that's why people bundle, and that's why people just go for free shipping all the time. So this is basically more of a move to maximize your profit from other products. Instead of saying, look, I'll take a smaller cut from all the products, and maybe my consumer doesn't even like them. That is another thing that a lot of brands missed out.
Okay, so to reiterate, on Topical's campaign, 40% product specific is much better than 20% site wide, right?
Yeah, exactly. Correct.
I just want to ask for a bit more education about hyper personalization, what it really means, how can brands start, and it seems that some of these brands might be a bit in terms of revenue, a bit higher. How do newer and smaller brands compete when it comes to hyper personalization?
I would say, sorry, can you elaborate a little bit more on your question?
So where do we start when it comes to hyper personalization? Is it just with emails or on the website, or how exactly do we do Shopify stores or e-commerce brands begin?
Good question. Actually, hyper-personalization cannot be done on ads. I mean, the whole point of ads is to raise awareness and do lead generation. When you launch your ads, it's impossible to know what your customers actually want. Maybe they fit into your ICP, your ideal customer profile, but that's as far as it goes. So most of the time, if you want to hyper-personalize something, it's always via email or SMS. I don't think there's any other way of doing it. Um, it's very much a fixed approach, because if you're not using email and if you're not using SMS, it's almost impossible to hyper personalize, let's say, even the name or the content, the products that they want, the pricing that they want, and so on.
Yes, okay. Thank you for that clarification. I think you can go ahead to the
Okay,
next.
cool. Awesome. So the next one that I wanted to share is Parade, actually. It's a very funny case, and I very much like it as well. I mean, being a female consumer, and being a female myself anyways. So a lot of people who buy or sell underwear, I mean, underwear is pretty much a necessity. But when it comes to this, actually their tagline is very interesting, and it's very self-explanatory as well. It says gifting underwear is not weird. So they basically, just the first two words already positioned where they are in the market. And if you go on their website, you can probably see a lot of gift sets as well. So they are writing on several different things. So first of all is the storytelling part, because I mean the tagline itself already story told everything. Most importantly, just say, look, if you're looking for a gift for your female friends, there you go. This is the brand that you should go for. So what they position differently is when you buy a necessity, you usually buy at a lower cost, right? You probably shop for whatever that is functional. But when it comes down to this, when it's gifting, you want to buy something nice for your female friends, for your besties. And it's an easier way of selling via those female consumers who are already interested versus saying, okay, I'm just buying this for myself. But if they're gifting to their friends as well, that's already a value chain that was created. And that is basically like customer referral at its maximum. So I would say this is the first approach that they did very well with. So that's why if you go onto their blogs or how they did their SEO was basically based on gifts. So if you type gifts or her, it's pretty much their brand that's going to come up first. And so another thing that they utilize is obviously the customer analytics, right? So the customer analytics comes with gift guides, discounts that aligns with what their customer prefer. And a lot of brands actually say that they utilize it, but not to a maximum extent. So what is important about the customer analytics, and a lot of brands actually miss that out, is if you're an apparel and fashion especially, every single website will have a wish list. And it's just kind of like a changing room, right? In a retail store. You wouldn't necessarily go and buy a piece of fabric if you haven't tried it on yourself yet. It's kind of the same as this, right? In apparel and fashion, a lot of customers come in not wanting to buy. It's always a maybe. They come in as a maybe. They probably have enough clothes already, and they are not looking to just go and add it to cart. So if your customer are not adding it to cart and they probably are not interested enough to check out, they probably will just leave the website if you don't have a wish list. And there you go. You basically miss out a huge chunk of possible revenue to convert. So customer analytics actually comes in right here where wish list lies, because you kind of know what they want. They're not sure, but there you go. That's where you can convert. Because if they add things to cart and they don't check out and they don't do anything with the stuff, then most likely they're going to forget about your brand forever.
Okay, so thank you for introducing wishlist to us, and then the importance of customer analytics.
Absolutely.
Okay, please.
Cool. So this is the fourth case study, actually. So this brand is very much what I call Tesla for eyewear. So I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with it, but when it comes to Tesla, it's very famous case as well. Usually cars, I don't care what brand it is, Mercedes, Toyota, you name it. Everyone sells via a car dealership. And most importantly is they do have a very structured and mature distribution channel, but not when it comes to Tesla. So obviously Tesla has a very different founder. I mean, that Elon Musk is pretty much like a brand in itself. But most importantly is because they have a different vision and they want to do things differently. It's just the same as this. So I'm not saying that it's comparable because it's completely two different industries, but this is a very cute, I would say, eyewear brand as well. Because usually when you buy glasses, you probably would go into an optician, get your eyes tested and so on. But the way that they position their brand is you buy a pair and give a pair. So once you buy one, they're actually donating one to other people. So that comes in the social impact of it as well. Because like I said, people nowadays, they like buying stories. They like buying the vision, the impact, the values that a brand represents, instead of just saying, I just need another pair of glass. So, like I said, right, the emotional storytelling part is the key right here, because they're hoping to change lives, and people are way more likely to be loyal to a brand who has a vision rather than, look, I'm actually just consuming. So what I call it is, instead of saying buying is consumption, they would say spending is donation. So this is actually a new trend as well, because every single brand is integrating ESG into their own brand, and not just brands. I mean, if you talk to any sort of developed enterprise, without an ESG arm, it's almost impossible to secure any sort of stock price. So that is a key to take care of as well. And just some numbers, by the way. And this is actually the very last. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying those are some pretty interesting numbers, and I think I do agree with um, the case study you just shared. I mean, it makes customers feel much better when they know they spending is also donating or helping to maybe a charitable organization, and I think most brands are incorporating that too now. But I think the question always do stems from upcoming brand, or should we say smaller brands too as well. Um,
Mhm.
how exactly do you suggest they find the balance with because they are upcoming, they can't afford to give probably as much as the more established enterprises and brands too as well. How do they balance it out?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's always about the storytelling. So we're not talking about just, charity work and donation and stuff. ESG comes in many different forms, right? Like I said earlier, I mean, fair trade has been a thing that existed for decades. A lot of people would decide to start using more environmentally friendly production lines, chasing their carbon footprint and so on. So these are all the things that a brand actually represents. And a lot of times people really don't put much attention to it, as in like merchants. They rarely put attention into these things. But these are the things that you need to craft a story around, especially with your supply chain, because this is why people buy. And like I said, consumer preferences changes over time. How people buy 20 years ago is definitely not how they buy now. And
Mhm.
they don't really buy products, they buy a story.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, cool. So now we were arriving the very last case study as well. So obviously Christmas is upcoming, and so who doesn't like a gingerbread latte? That is, festive. I mean, it's basically like a syrupy sort of coffee. It's not really a coffee, it's just syrup, but people just love it, and it's festive and it's limited edition. It only gets released every single Christmas. And we all know that Starbucks always change their cups during Christmas. And that is the only time that you can walk around with a cute little red cup as well. So, what I'm trying to say here is this campaign of Starbucks, I mean, it has been running for, I don't know, for as long as I remember, for as long as I have been drinking coffee. And the way they do it is actually very smart. So it's not just a seasonal branding. And like I said, right, I mean, they have a lot of these techniques as well that encourages people to share uh, on social media, for example. I'm pretty sure all of us can recall how we order something on Starbucks. We give our name and they always get the spelling wrong, and it's never right. It's actually a genius move. So how they spell it actually will be pretty funny, right? It turns out to be a funny and a pretty awful thing as well. And people are just taking pictures of it all the time, sending it around and laughing at how idiotic this could be. But in theory, that is a very good sales channel because every single Starbucks cup has their own huge logo. And once you take a picture of it, this is already kind of like a billboard in your face. They don't really need to rent any billboards anymore. So there goes the red cups as well, because this is like a festive seasonal branding that they're promoting all the time. Um, so I think it's also coming down to a sense of urgency and exclusivity, because customers know that they need to wait a whole year if they don't get one now. So they're like, well, might as well get it now. I mean, even though it's pretty much diabetes, but I'm all down for it. So this is how they make use of their coffee cups, retail store. What they did with their online sales actually is, how these cups are all one-time use only, and people are buying more and more tumblers nowadays. Cups, tumblers, and so on, and more environmentally friendly first of all, but also Starbucks cups are very well designed. So when it comes down to Christmas, everyone is waiting for their Christmas cups and tumblers and mugs to come out. And these back in stock emails actually come in place. And like I said earlier, you need to have a wish list. And actually, back in stock is part of wish list. So it's more like a pre-sales campaign, right? So people are actually expecting to buy those cups right before Christmas because they're probably, queuing for it. It's a thing that they do every single year as a gift for themselves or for their friends and so on. But most importantly, if you imagine, right, a lot of companies or a lot of uh, not just e-commerce brands, but just ventures in general, everyone would come up with a landing page and say, look, these are the things that we do. We have a few taglines and then some small descriptions, very short and sweet. And then they will have a sign up form for you to enter your emails, right? And then subscribe. So this is basically a way to test out how many people are interested in your product or your potential venture and also collect some initial feedback. So it's the same as back in stock. It's like pre-sales, right? It's not launched yet, but you know for sure that people will sign up and you need to inform them straight away when it gets released. So that serves two purposes. First of all is to create the hype, is so that people know about it early enough that when it's like an exclusive deal or like a very time limited offer during Christmas, then you can get it out as soon as possible and they can buy it as soon as possible. The second thing is, especially for seasonal stuff, not just talking about, Starbucks cups, but when it comes down to apparel and fashion, there are 4 seasons that they release. And these 4 seasons usually have pre-seasonal sales. And what happens is they need to stock up the amount of inventory. And back in stock is actually a very good indicator of how much inventory you need. And so those are the very valuable data that you'll need to predict as well. And that's where the purpose actually come in.
Um, so you shared about 5 stories or case studies and how they are able to make sure their holiday campaigns are pretty seasonal. Now, my
Mhm.
question will be yes, next case studies and then takeaways for newer, smaller, and then enterprise. I think I would prefer if you move in that direction too as well. For the smaller and newer stores or e-commerce brands that are coming up, what can they start to implement from the
Yeah,
campaigns and the
so
case studies?
absolutely. Actually, especially for smaller companies, like I said, if you don't have much money to burn on pay-per-click, which pay-per-click is super expensive, especially if you're not selling something that is very niche. If
Mhm.
you're selling necessities, then yeah, your bills are gonna skyrocket. Which a lot of the times pay-per-click don't actually convert. So people land on your website and they go. So first of all is you need to create a sense of urgency that it's limited time. It's just like, all these retail shops that puts up a sign that says, sales end in 3 hours and it's been 3 hours for like 10 years. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is you need to have a maybe zone. So like I said, everyone needs to think before they buy. And not everyone is going to go add to cart straight away unless you broke your keyboard and you go in and you buy a new one, which is quite simple. I mean, even if you were buying a new keyboard, you probably are looking at different models as well. So as you're looking at different models, you're not going to add them all to cart, and nobody really does that. People are just going to add it into wish list, and later on they take a look at their wish list and eliminate out those things that they don't want. And here actually serves a very good purpose, like I said, because for small brands, if you simply implement a very small wish list app, you already get to know what your customers are looking for, even before they check out. And the most important thing is, in theory, a wish list is about, boosting your potential deal value. So on average speaking, right, most brands that has a wish list app installed, they actually have way bigger checkout deal size compared to those that don't. Because those that don't, people add to cart and then they check out. It's a transactional thing. Those that have a wish list, that's building trust. So that's where the difference lies. And then I would say the third thing is, right, you need to utilize how these data is going to work. So you need to know what the users want really. So it's like you need to craft these personalized newsletters and offers to them, to prompt them to check out as soon as they can. But most importantly, showing them what they want instead of showing them just another 20% off site, right? Which during Black Friday, I would say I received at least 100 emails from 100 different brands, and I never really checked any of them because nothing really interests me. So you need to really grab the interest from there and take care of each individual customers like it's an enterprise consumer, sorry, enterprise client, I would say. So that would be for the smaller business. I would say for the bigger business, obviously, you have lots of different initiatives. Things are a little bit more complex. But when it comes down to the basics of building the brand, I would say put more money into brand building and put more money into SEO as well. I understand it's probably out of date as of now, but one thing that what we can see as, especially me as like a tech founder in AI as well, uh, most people are trying to use AI to make things as easy as possible. And then they said, look, SEO is not competitive anymore. What I see is because AI is so easily accessible, people are going back to what it used to be in the old ways. Because people who pay, sorry, those who pay are not robots. They're clients, they're customers, they're humans. So in theory, they still prefer a lot of human touch. It doesn't matter if you're D2C, B2C, or B2B, what sort of business model. Everyone who wants to pay, sorry, everyone who's willing to pay wants some sort of customer service or client service. So this is what medium size is focusing on. As for large size enterprise, I would say they have their own data already. So I'm not at a position to comment on how they do it, but I would say large size enterprise, it will come down to mainly what I mentioned earlier: ESG, charity, donation, and so on.
All right, thank you for the feedback and then the intake and lessons as to what smaller brands, upcoming brands, and then larger brands should do. You did mention that it's much better to have 40% on one product than 20% on entire store offering. I think one thing, I guess that would be my next question. If you can tell us about Twizo and how Twizo can help e-commerce stores during their holiday campaigns.
Sure, absolutely. So actually, a lot of points that I mentioned earlier are applicable in Twixel, including the 4 points that I mentioned: data, social, personalization, loyalty. So data is what we collect to begin with. Wishlist is not an add to favorites button. Wishlist is where you collect your customer data and you upsell everything that you can to them. And meanwhile, the way that you upsell is very different. So imagine, right? You say, look, I can actually buy a bunch of uh, data online and then I can email the heck out of them. What happens is your emails is not hyper personalized. Just like any other business, nobody really wants to buy from that because it's just another deal. Deals happen all the time. Maybe if I missed out this time, it's fine, right? I don't really feel like I'm missing anything out. Maybe I'll have a better deal around the corner. Maybe you're going to send me another email to say, look, instead of 20% off, we're giving you 40% off now. So in theory, like I said, you target your customers what they want to buy. So this is where our email marketing actually comes in. But most importantly, because we allow people to add things to wish list, this is where we can find the data of these consumers. So our data is actually very specifically tailored, and you actually have quite a few different access points. So the first one is like user list. So for example, you know which ones are your most spending or highest spending users. That's the first thing. The second thing is product. Which one is your best selling product? You know it straight off, or most wanted product. That is another thing. And then the third thing is your wish list. So each and every wish list is different. even with the same user. They probably will create one for winter, one for summer, one for their friends, one their family. All these things are actually telling you about this user, and you need to really take care of them as like high ticket clients at the same time using these analytics. And this is what Tixo is for mainly. And like I said, email integration. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, please continue.
Okay, cool. And so earlier on, I mentioned as well, right? You know your most wanted product. You know your out of stock product that is wanted. That's why you have the back in stock alert, right? So this is actually the inventory management side of things. So when you know what your users want, you can easily predict it, because I would say, right, a lot of people use wishlist app just for sales and marketing. Obviously, that's the whole game. You need to maximize your revenue, but what about your profit? Right? We're not running an AI company that is going to, I mean, hopefully not bubble out, but a lot of tech companies do that, and a lot of I would say tech companies don't really have a solid foundation. But that's not e-commerce, because e-commerce is very straightforward P&L, sales, revenue, profit. And if you're not maximizing your profit here, which is a huge problem, because logistics, inventory, warehousing, all these things actually add up a lot of your cost. So I would say this is something that most brands have been missing out as well, and what Tixo provides to them.
Okay, do you have anything special for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, here we go. So we are actually offering a 14-day free trial as usual, and we have an extra free month off for anyone who attended the webinar. And you can scan the QR code on the left actually, and you will be able to unlock everything. So we're actually live on Shopify App Store, and you can just go ahead and download it and integrate it within just a few clicks. You don't really need us or any engineers. But obviously, we have a bunch of engineers at the back. So if there are anything that you need to customize, let's say you say, I'm not selling on Shopify, we can definitely do that for you as well. Because in theory, I would say the backbone of it and how it works, the features are very similar. It's just whether or not it's adaptable to another customized store or even another e-commerce platform per se.
Okay, thank you. Hi guys, we are going to leave this on for a bit. If you have any questions for Moon, please feel free to drop them in the chat section, and then we'll pick it up. I think whilst we wait for that, can you do just a very quick recap for us, Moon?
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I guess some of you guys probably missed the earlier stage of this presentation, but I was actually talking mainly on a few things, right? Personalized offers, urgency, targeting your customers' behavioral psychology. All these things are very much key factors to success. And I mentioned it as well, right? Not really joining the numbers game, because in theory, your holiday sales is more of a hook to your customers. But in a long term, if you want your customers to be loyal and they come back for your brand, you'll need to think about a long-term game instead of just say, look, I'll do a huge discount for Christmas. And then what next? They probably will wait for the next Christmas instead of coming back to you and say, buy on a normal day. And there goes your profit margin. So most likely what I would suggest is you personalize an offer for them to what they want, instead of like I said, a generalized offer to everybody. And then most likely you can make your profit back by them checking out, I would say, normal price products, or just products that are not on sale at all or not on bundle at all. So I think these are certain things that we'll need to remind ourselves of.
Okay, thank you for taking the time to walk us through how we can grow our shops. I think currently we don't have any questions, so if you can please go back to the QR code so that we leave it on for a couple of minutes. Yes, so I think that would bring us to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for taking the time once again to educate us on how we can not only increase our sales for the holiday seasons, but then position our brands to ensure that we are able to target our customers well, maximize revenue generation, build brand loyalty, and then giving us the free 1 month trial with Twixo2 as well. Marissa, Janelle, May, thank you guys for attending the webinar. We are going to share the recording of the webinar to via email. And Moon, can they get the deck, or would you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll send that over to everyone as well.
Sure. Thank you very much. I think that will be it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for everybody.
Nice. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.